So you're looking to grow a bigger chest. This is definitely the video for you, as this was me for years. So for that reason, I'm going to share with you 6 of the main things that I did that helped me see a actual visual change in my chest size, because I found that certain exercises I got recommended in the past were good, they improved my strength, but I didn't visually see improvements. So today I'm going to hit you with 6 of the things that I did. Number 1, I stopped barbell bench press as my main chest exercise. Personally, even though I do enjoy barbell bench, I just didn't think it was helping as much, as I was doing barbell bench at this point for I think a good 5 years. And yes, I did see chest development in it. I just, over the years, even when I was progressing the weight, I just felt like my upper chest specifically, I just didn't feel like it was really hitting. Like I felt like I was getting a lot of lower chest action and I wasn't really seeing much of the shelf on my chest. And for that reason, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna switch the exercise I've always hated, which was dumbbell bench press. I used to hate this exercise just because of the finicky way you have to get the weights up and everything. I just wasn't a massive fan, but realistically, it's much better to do a dumbbell bench press for various reasons. One, it allows you to bring the weight more lower down, whereas a barbell, you kind of have to stop at your chest. Also, with a dumbbell, you can also move it so it's comfortable for your wrists, which allows you to really target your chest a lot more as well. As when you're confined to a barbell, you have to virtually stay in that kind of format, which does make it hard for you to keep your elbows in tight, because that's how you really focus on your chest. So personally, when I switched to dumbbell and was allowed to make it more comfortable for my wrists, keep my elbows close to my side, and also the fact that it allowed me to not try and skate by if one side was weaker than the other, because with a bench press, oftentimes my right side would kind of sometimes go up first and then it'd help me get the left up. Whereas with a dumbbell, I soon realized the weak side that I had and had to really progress to actually make it better. So dumbbell bench press, in my opinion, is way more superior than the barbell. But in saying that, I didn't completely throw away the barbell bench press, as it is a great exercise. I just started doing it as like my 3rd exercise in my routine. So for example, I would do 1 plate, I'd do it flat bench, and I'd also do it pause reps. So I'd do a nice fairly wide grip as well, like around that width, and I would pause it on my chest, and I mean a real pause. So for example, it'd be like 1, 2, 3, then push it up. After around 6 reps, you start feeling the burn. But making this change, I definitely do feel like was probably one of the top things that helped improve my chest. Next up, I completely quit doing the dumbbell flies. I've always hated that exercise. I only done it for years because people I used to train with used to swear by it, and they used to always say, oh, do the dumbbell chest flies, a great move. I absolutely hate it. I just don't feel like it's needed. I feel like there's much more superior exercise in the gym, whether it's the machine chest fly or even the cable crossover machine. Both of those, in my opinion, are far more superior than a dumbbell chest fly. If I had to pick one, I would say if you're more experienced, potentially go with the cable. If you're a newbie, go with the machine. That's simply because the machine kind of makes you have to almost do your form correctly, whereas we've all probably seen like some beginners go on the crossover and they get to a point where they're lifting the weight too heavy, where this is how their reps look, which isn't correct. You should be aiming to try and bring your elbows together. So if you're at home now watching this, if you do this and then touch your chest, it's virtually nothing happening. Whereas if you aim as if your elbows were going to touch and then touch your chest, you can feel it's fully contracted. Next up, so I guarantee you've all had exercises that you really enjoy to the point where you almost do excessive sets of it because you like the exercise so much. For example, when I used to love doing the barbell bench press the most when I first started, I would do like literally 5 or 6 sets of it just because I liked the movement so much. It made my chest feel great and I just like doing it. However, it gets to a point where you do like diminishing returns and it's almost impacting the rest of your workout. So realistically, if you're aiming for like 3 sets or 4 sets, aim for that and stick to it. Doing the odd drop set is fine, or even the odd superset, but don't overuse your energy doing things that's not really going to benefit you. It's much smarter for you to actually do the sets you're meant to do effectively, lift a challenging weight, and then move on to the next exercise. So I definitely think me realizing that, yes, I enjoy this exercise, but I need to call it quits and move on to the next one was definitely a winner for me, because I'd sometimes go into like my 3rd exercise just completely shattered, and it kind of tanks the rest of the workout. This one is short and sweet, and that is simply avoiding poor form. And when I say that, the best way to avoid it, because saying it's just easier said than done, it sounds cliche, I would highly recommend recording the odd set and seeing how fast you're doing the exercise and how controlled it is. And if you're actually targeting the muscle correctly. Because even when my first thing I did was, when I was improving my form, was obviously making sure that I felt the chest is working correctly. Like I don't feel too much shoulders, I actually feel chest. That was step one. And number two was realizing that when I was watching back some of my exercises, that I was performing them way too fast. Like even though in my head I felt like I was slowing down, when I watched the footage, you can't deny it. Like I was moving way too quick. So when I started doing that, I realized I had to drop the weight a little bit, because now I'm controlling the weight a lot more. Obviously, lifting the same amount of weight was a lot more challenging. So I had to kind of drop it a little bit so I could really focus, contract, move it at a pace I believe was nice and appropriate. And I saw a lot more progress like that. But speed aside, the main thing is making sure that you're actually feeling the correct area working. Like if you're doing bench press or something and you mainly feel your shoulders more than your chest, chances are that your form needs tweaking. And the next one now is you should be seeing progress. And it doesn't necessarily just mean lifting heavier. As in regards to progress, there's various things. Obviously, there's increasing the weight. There's the tempo in which you're moving it. So as I mentioned, doing it nice and controlled. You can do pause reps. Or as I said, you can even mention throwing in drop sets and supersets. Personally, I would always go typically tempo first, then potentially going with pause reps, then going to supersets or drop sets. I feel like that order has always found me better. Doing too many supersets and drop sets early on in the routine, as I mentioned earlier, can somewhat tank you by making you too fatigued. Doing that occasionally is fine, but every single workout, I feel like it always means that the later exercises almost get like dealt a bad hand because you're almost really fatigued by the time you get there. But overall, I'd make sure that in your workouts, you are seeing some form of progression. And now, this is a very important tip that some of you may need to hear. And it is simply the fact that if you have been doing virtually everything I've already mentioned in this video and along with others, and you're still struggling to see any progress in your chest, it may be the fact that you have too much body fat on you, simply because you're not gonna have a nice defined chiseled looking chest if you have too much body fat on your frame. You may need to drop down maybe 10 or 15 pounds to get that more full chest look. I can show you pictures on screen right now. When I'm more overweight, even though I probably have more muscle on my body, when I drop down the fat, my chest looks far better, far bigger, and far more aesthetic. You may need to take a progress picture and be really honest with what you see and go, do I have enough muscle? Do I have too much body fat? And what would be the next step that me, based on my physique in that picture, need to do to actually see progress? Like if I want to look bigger and muscular right now, the quickest and easiest method is for me is to drop about 7 pounds and I'll look way bigger. But for those of you out there that are still looking for more tips on how to build an aesthetic and more muscular chest, or even a routine, feel free to check out these videos here as I cover various things that you can do to really help get that chest in a more righteous path.